Welcome to our exceptional agents and investors from across the country. Today is Thursday, September 25th, 2025, and this is All the Leads Mastermind podcast number 547. Good turnout today. Welcome, one and all. We want your participation. Raise your hand at any time. We're pretty much open to talk about almost anything. Probably good if it's real estate related in some way, but we're open-minded. Doesn't have to be about probate. We've got divorce, late mortgage. If you want to give us an update on your market, interest rates are down. Let us know if that's made a difference yet. And any other topics you can think of. Tim, what would you like to start with today?
Well, I talked a little bit last week about consolidation in our industry and some of the stuff that's going on. And right shortly before or after that, Compass made a major brokerage acquisition, and I think that is a coming trend. I believe that economies of scale are what people are shooting for, and I think my question is kind of an interesting one, and that is, do you guys think that's helpful to you as an individual, or do you think you're getting lost in the shuffle? And I think there's a lot of both of those there. I think really the bigger question is what does that do for you if you happen to be in an acquired brokerage? What are you getting out of that you didn't have before, and what might you be losing? So I don't know if that affects any of you, if any of you have been part of an acquisition like that or not. If you do, I'd really, really love to hear from you about how that affected you and kind of what it meant to you to do that. Cheryl, I see that you've chimed in there. Unmute yourself.
There we go.
Great.
So we were part of Prudential affiliates years ago, and Berkshire Hathaway took us over. And Prudential got out of the business. Berkshire Hathaway got in at the same time. All the execs kind of migrated from one company to another. And it's been awesome. We have a national name that's very well recognized, and it has definitely helped us. So, and actually, I heard at one point that Warren Buffett said that he was so pleased with how we had done, because we were actually his first venture that used the name Berkshire Hathaway, that he was going to use it in other ventures. So, I mean, this is years ago, but anyway, so it's been a really good thing for us.
Cheryl, go ahead. I'm sorry, Tim.
Did you find an increase in the training and support that you were getting?
To be honest, I think it's always been really good here. We have incredible marketing team that takes care of us if we want it. We have an IT guy who is just, he gives national talks. I mean, he's just really good. He focuses a lot on AI, which unfortunately I think I'm way too old to get into, but it's just a really good place to be. Now we're a local affiliate. We're the Fox and Roach. So we started back in the end of the 1800s, became Prudential, and then again, now we're Berkshire Hathaway. So like I said, it's been a great move for us. It really has.
It started back in the 1800s?
Yeah, 1886.
Jim, do you remember that?
I do. I'm reading a book right now where this guy bought 60,000 acres of land in Florida for 15 cents an acre in 1875.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You mean it wasn't the Walt Disney purchase?
No.
Okay.
Very interesting. This is just anecdotal, has nothing to do with anything, but my wife and I were at the Prudential convention with our short sale business when they made the announcement. And they made the announcement the second or third day of the convention, and the people that were the most aggravated were the vendors selling all the Prudential shirts.
Oh, yeah.
That stinks.
Nobody gave them a heads up.
Well,
What are you
yeah,
going to do?
yep, yep,
But yeah, it's turned out well for you though. That's great.
it has. It's a great place to be.
Margie's raising her hand. Margie, did you have something?
Margie, can you unmute yourself? There you go.
So I'm with Compass, and I used to have my own small boutique firm. And, everyone does things for different reasons. I've been there for about 3.5 years. And, this just happened yesterday, but my understanding is that everything will be autonomous. You could still sell those Prudential shirts, and everyone is still going to have their own identity within their own organizations. But one of the reasons I joined Compass, they're a tech, probably just like you said, Cheryl, amazing software engineers. I spent 22 years at Xerox Corporation before going into real estate. So I'm picky when it comes to certain things. And I felt that the market was evolving. And as an independent, I wanted to see what the difference is. But I think we all bring our own, what we have to offer. And I think we're all going to be similar. It's not going to make that much of a difference in terms of individual organizations. I was surprised. I mean, I didn't know about it. I don't really totally understand it. I haven't really looked into it, but I think it's exciting to the marketplace.
For sure.
You remind me that what's that old axiom? The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah, yeah.
Way back when I got my real estate license, like the day I turned 18, and back in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. I mean, back then it was all independent offices. That was all that was out there. Everybody had a local broker. When Century 21 and the franchises came along, everybody said, "Oh, gloom and doom! You have to join one of these, or you're going to go by the wayside." And most people did, but there are still independent brokers out there that have been around a long time that have survived. So you just have to adopt the tools, but you don't have to necessarily adopt a big name.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think the interesting question behind all that is, what if you're in the acquisition mode, you're buying what you're assuming. If you're Compass, for example, and you're acquiring, you're hopefully acquiring a group of agents in what you're doing that have a following, that have books of business and listings and all of that. And at the time they do that, one of the things that usually happens in an acquisition is they make the acquisition and they base it on a variable that determines the final price, which is 30, 60, 90-day kind of a rolling what stays on the books kind of deal. Because invariably on those acquisitions, people drop out. They say, this is not what I wanted to go do. I'm going to go work for Billy, Bob, and Fred, and I'm going to go do my thing with, a smaller group. I can focus better doing that. And I think it's just interesting. I always wonder if they're bringing a lot more to the game. In other words, if they're offering a lot more tools and a lot more training and a lot of that's very beneficial for the agents that are being acquired. If they're not doing that, then, it just is more, your identity kind of begins to go away. So I appreciate you guys both, chiming in and having some response to that. That's great. Thank you very much for your comments. So that was really, I kind of wanted to just start with that as a thing to think about. In terms of the overall industry, it's not just in the agent side of any of these. It is also in the vendor side, in everything. People are looking to achieve economies of scale, and acquisitions are rampant again. It's and some of them are really based on some crazy valuations in terms of what's going on, that I wonder if, I wonder whose money they're spending to do that sometimes. It's just, I always find that interesting. Hey, I'm gonna switch gears here for a second and kind of talk about another topic we've kind of gotten around to. We have been for the better part of a year. Speaking of training, looking at how we are going to do a better job of equipping you to work with the types of leads that we provide and the and the things that are necessary to make that work. And we settled on a tool over a year ago to do the delivery mechanism for that from a training standpoint. And what we'd always lacked was it's like the devil's in the details. It's like, okay, we got a great tool. We know how we're going to go do it. We actually used our own staff. We even brought a couple consultants in to help us create some additional structure that wasn't available in the tool that we suggested. And then it languished. And it languished for two things. One was for a lack of a champion. There wasn't anybody who was basically kind of able to follow it through. And every time we did it, it got very complex because it's like, we violated our own rule. We fell into paralysis analysis. We spent a lot of time thinking about what it should be rather than going in and getting it done. So what we are doing now, and I see Bill is on here, and we talked to Bill a little bit about this. I don't think Bruce is on today, but I've talked with Bruce a good bit about this, and we're actively now in hard development work with what we're doing. And what we're going to be providing you with is a tool set that is driven a kind of a combination of a scripted educational experience along with an AI monitored educational experience. And what I mean by that is that it give you a place to log in and basically operate for a while, where we're going to basically tell you everything that we know about the three kind of primary disciplines for leads that we're dealing with right now, which would be probate, pre-probate, and then divorce and also late mortgage as three significant pillar type things that we think that you can go do. And it's been really interesting to use the tools that are out there to create some of the outline and structure to do that. And I'm going to go back to Cheryl. The reason I brought this up is you were talking about AI, and you're expressing that you don't think you're too old to figure that out and all that. That's a common misperception in a way, and I'll say why that is now. When artificial intelligence tools first kind of came on the market, you kind of had to understand a little bit of I won't say the jargon, but how to write the prompts, how to do the communication, how to make it work to get the right results out of it. What's happened in recent months, literally, because it's such a rapidly evolving marketplace, is that the tools have become conversational, and literally they have conversational mode where it's literally just talking to it. It's like talking to a really smart, really capable assistant with no attitude and no sense of how long it takes. I'll just go get the job done. And I'll tell you, I will, part of what we're going to be offering in this training is a little bit about how to do that. And I can tell you that we are using a lot of that to do a bunch of analysis on literally the millions of lines of data that we've collected over the years to kind of compare the data and then watch that same data as to, okay, here's what we found when we found the data. What happened to that property? What happened to it over the years, and what commonalities were there in the data that we didn't see when we had it that potentially would have been predictors of what was going to happen with it. And that's what we're doing right now. We're digging in pretty deep to go do that. And once we kind of nail that down, I'm going to share that with you guys as well. And I'm only bringing it up to let you know that, I'm probably as or older than anybody else on this call. And I've been able to, kind of dig in and learn this as well. And I'll also tell you that it was intimidating in the beginning. So we're going to make it less intimidating for you because you need it, and you really do. And the reason I say that is that if you're not doing it, either your competition is going to be doing it, or they're going to hire somebody to do it for them. And in any case, you're going to be missing information that's vital to your business. So I'm just kind of raising the kimono a little bit to kind of tell you what we're up to and that kind of stuff. I think it's important that you are aware that, we're continuing to work hard kind of behind the scenes to make your life better and certainly make you happy that you're part of our family and all of that. So I think that's a great way to look at that. Hey, Matt, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself as well. And I'm glad you're able to join us today. It's good to see your face. I haven't talked to you in a bit. We had Ron who asked that said he was interested in the calling service, and we haven't had you on for a while. Matt Melia is in charge of appointments today. He's the main man there and been our valued third-party resource for that since we selected them after trying numerous times to do it ourselves and failing numerous times spectacularly to do it well. We finally found somebody who is crazy enough to actually make that work. Is that a fair way to put it, buddy?
Yeah, very fair way to put it. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I jumped on just because I wanted to kind of share that we like to do kind of like an end of the summer, even though I know we're a little late on it. But we like to do like a big end of summer promotion. So for anybody that wants, has a bunch of old leads, aged leads, we're doing like a massive discount. It's like 60% off. So I'm super excited about that. And I mean, we've been getting a lot of traction on late mortgage, which has been great. Late mortgage, we've seen some good stuff with divorce, and I mean, probate is usually always our bread and butter. So, but yeah, the lead sources have been really great. I guess coming on here, I did want to ask Tim, and maybe I may have missed it too, as far as late mortgage goes, because one of the ways that we lead into that call is we talk to them a little bit about, hey, we want to give you a couple different options, maybe even if that means helping you restructure, work on payment types of deals. What do you guys have specific either companies you guys recommend that do like payment restructuring? The reason why I ask, I had an agent ask me about that, and they said, hey, who do you recommend? Because we've been having a lot of success with them, but they were saying, well, I don't know if I want to go to their current lender, but if they say they don't want to sell, maybe they want to try to restructure the payments. Do you guys have anyone in mind for that?
So I will tell you that we have always sort of maintained a position of agnosticity, if that's a word, in regard to lenders in particular, not because we don't care. It's really more there are a lot of them out there, and it's all rate driven. So it's kind of hard to say what the structure of it is. I mean, part of it is that if you find one who is happy to work with people that are currently experiencing distress, you still have to deal with the fundamental issue of, well, why do you have this problem? Do you have the ability to repay it if we do break it into a smaller payment over a longer period of time? Do you have the ability to do that? And I think if you ask that particular question, which is okay, so your current payment is $680 a month, you're not making that one. And if we took that payment to, $500 a month, would that relieve your burden? And what would you do with the extra money that you're not going to be putting in your mortgage? And that's a good conversation to have. If we need to, and I'm glad you asked that, because I think if we need to find a couple of lenders who you could literally hand them off to at that point, I think I'd like to put our heads together and do that. That'd be great. Jody is on here. And Jody, that's something I think I'd like to talk with you about as well, in terms of maybe seeking out the right folks to hand over to Matt and, ones we could work well with. And I'll also reach out to my favorite mortgage guy and see what he has to say about that as well, Matt.
Jim, I know we do have one or two that have, one in particular, that have subscribed to leads for that purpose. And I think that they're nationwide. So I'll try to go back and find that for you, Matt. In the meantime, if you get somebody, reach out to me and I'll find somebody. We'll go back to our subscribers. I think all of our subscribers have a good mortgage broker. And I agree with what Tim said. As a long-term proposition, they have to be able to afford the new payment. There are situations, though, the one lender I was thinking about, if the equity's there and they're breathing, he can get them a mortgage. That's not a long-term solution, but it buys them time to be able to sell the property. So that they can get caught up. And so it kind of, but yeah, I'll be glad to help with that. I'll try to find, I'll reach out also and get back to you with the one that I can't remember exactly who it was, but I'll find it. Get back to you. And if any of you know anyone who does that, who specializes in restructuring in your area, let us know, and we'll compile a list of them.
Right. If you want to do that and you potentially want to submit a refi mortgage company to us, if you'll send that to just send it to support@alltheleads.com, and you can just say nothing more than I work with Anna, and she's a wonderful person who has helped numerous people with restructuring and all of that. Here's her phone number and here's their email address. That's about all we need to do that with. And that's the great part of that. We're acting like a community today. That's wonderful. I appreciate it. Great, Matt. Appreciate you doing that, bud.
Absolutely.
And we've done this, as I said before, worked with third-party callers to do this, and it's never worked well until we started working with Matt and his folks. And people vote with their wallet, and they continue to pay Matt's folks to do the job they're doing. So they're obviously well pleased with what's going on there. So I think that's critical to know that you're investing in something that has been proven to work, and we wouldn't be continuing that relationship if it wasn't. So we value that a great deal. Jimmy, what were you going to say, bud?
Yeah, before we move on from Matt, probably the question I get asked the most that I don't completely understand is the retargeting that you do. You're still doing that, and do you want to, or are you still doing that? I should ask. Not so much.
We started the retargeting solely based on the fact that there was going to be all those TCPA. I mean, I don't even want to say that name anymore. I don't even like thinking about it. Those were nightmare times. But like back in the beginning of the year where it was like that one-to-one consent stuff, we've kind of gotten away from that. And what we've done is just really kind of ramped up and just made more calls, because we've realized that it doesn't mean that we don't get, like, we've gotten some leads from it, we've gotten some good opportunities from it, but for the most part, it's like these guys will fill out this form and then we're back to trying to get a hold of them again. And it's like, okay, they didn't like, I think we got a couple of really good opportunities from it in bulk, but we've really heavily focused efforts on, and if anybody wants, like, I mean, I'm willing to even help train or teach somebody how to do retargeting. It's really easy to do. But it's one of those things where we found the best results are just that whole get on the phone, and then try to get the agent belly to belly, or at the very least, Zoom, set up a Zoom call if they're out of state. That's really where we've seen a lot of success, and just hammering the phones.
Gotcha.
Fair enough. Thank you.
That's great. That's great. Hang on one second.
Matt, I'll throw you another question while Tim's thinking. Another question I get from people is like, I'm overwhelmed. I'm several months behind on my leads, and I want to call the good ones myself, but I don't have time to call all of them.
Yeah.
Or I get like, I don't have time to call any of them. Which ones should I call first? Which one should I have Matt call first? And I always tell them, you might want to sort them and start with the absentee owners. If you don't have time to make any calls, have Matt call the absentee owners. If you do have time, call those yourself and then give the others to Matt. Do you have a lot of people that do that? Is it an all in or none? Or do you have people say, call these and I'm going to call those? I mean, what's more common?
Yeah, I mean, it's a mix. I mean, for the most part, I let people know that once it gets past, once the probate gets past a year, your conversion rate can really, really take a hit. Like if it's like more than a year old, and now you're just starting to make phone calls. And so I always tell people, hey, the older these leads get, the faster you need to make sure that you get to them. And so, it's of course all of us, I mean, even myself as an agent, I mean, sure, I want to say to myself, I mean, I get leads and I don't call them. I have my inside sales agents call them, and they set appointments for me and I go and run them. And so with that being said, I mean, in a perfect world, I would call every single one of them every single time, call multiple times, but I know that, that delegation and really, just just having someone that I can trust to make those calls makes a world of difference. And so I would always just recommend, if they absolutely say yes, I know I can get to at least 30 of them, then just like you said, the folks that are absentee, out of state, the out of state homeowner, I would have them call the out of state people first, because those are going to be probably the lower hanging fruit, and then we would call, the spouses and all the other ones.
So, Jim, this has been kind of your pet project for a bit, and we talked about refresh for a while, and that kind of ties into what Matt said. One of the issues there is that if they're going to give you the leads from, that are a year old, well, you don't want to waste a lot of time and energy calling properties that are already sold. And one of the things, Jim, why don't you talk about refresh for a second?
Yeah, it's been frustrating me because it was an idea that I had and we wanted to test it first. I think we've had 6 people test it, but none of them have used, none of them have made me calls. And the idea behind refresh is we can take all the leads you've ever gotten that you haven't eliminated. We can run them through a 2-step process. First of all, we'll make sure that there's real estate in those leads, and then we'll make sure that that real estate is not listed or has not been sold through the MLS. So we could take maybe 1,000 leads and give you back 150 of them and say these 150, even if it's a year later, definitely have real estate and there's no evidence that it's been listed or sold. And that makes it so, and it's relatively inexpensive. It's way cheaper than getting new leads for us to do that. And I've done that with a few people who were going to quit because they were overwhelmed. And like I said, I'd go ahead and run them for them, and then they haven't used them. So I don't have any case studies, but I'd love to get one with some. We know for sure, and this is just totally off the top of my head, but there was something like 60% of them were still available after 6 months, and I want to say like 20% of them were still had real estate that was still available a year later. So if you narrow it just to those, and then you do a campaign, mail and call them, it's a much more efficient way to spend your money and your time. And one thing I would say, Matt, you're right. The likelihood of them being a good lead decreases, but if they haven't done anything after a year, the likelihood that you have any competition is almost zero. Right. So
True.
the ones that we can verify do have real estate it hasn't listed or sold yet. Well, one of two things: they're never going to sell it, or they're ready to sell it. And if they are ready to sell it, you've got no competition. I've often said I don't buy and flip anymore because I just don't have time. But whenever I was looking for a deal, I didn't want to compete with our subscribers. I'd go back and work the 1 to 2 year old leads. Every time I'd get a deal or two, and they'd say, yeah, a year ago, my phone was ringing off the hook. I was getting letters. Now I'm finally ready. I had a dispute with the family, or this happened or that happened, that we got rid of the tenant. We solved some problem. And now that I'm ready to sell, you're the only one I've heard from in the last 9 months.
So Jimmy and Matt, both of you guys, why don't we try and package this up? And what I mean by that is, Matt, if you get someone who's got, 500 leads and you're going to go after them and, do that, let's run those through refresh. And that way you're going to get better results. Everybody's going to be happier and all that. If Jim, you and Matt can kind of take that offline when we're done here, let's put that out there as something that we can offer, package it right up and make good sense out of it. As Jim said, it's an inexpensive way to do it. And, kind of crazy that we didn't do this before. That's why I'm glad we had this converbation. I think
it's basically, it's cheaper than the cost of sending one letter to go back and have us do that. So, I mean,
oh yeah, lot, very much so.
Way much so. So yeah. All right. Yeah, that sounds great. We'll put that together and maybe we'll offer. I've only been after us to do that for about a year. We kept trying to find a case study, but and if there's anybody on this call that would actually call them, we'll give you a great deal to go out and test it. But yeah, Matt, you and I'll get together.
We refreshed it for people who unfortunately hadn't done anything before and they didn't have the habit of doing it. That's the problem. It's like, I didn't work them before. Well, okay. Well, now we've even targeted it better and they're still not doing it, and tying it out and having having Matt's folks get started with. It's a great way to get that done. And I don't know why we didn't do that to start with. So that's a great thing to do. You guys
And
think
there's so much money in those like, I mean, obviously, you know, and again, I don't want to take away from the fact, yeah, if they get really old, like 3, 4, 5 years, like a lot of things happen in that time. But I mean, you know, going back to what Jim said, he's absolutely right. I mean, if there's no one a year, people aren't calling anymore. And so there's so much, there's so many opportunities in those leads. It's
Well, it's
crazy.
right place at right time. You know, it's the
Right.
issues of why the property is still not sold. It's not that it didn't sell. It wasn't that it was priced too high. It could be something very simple, which is that, you know, a husband or wife passed away and the surviving spouse continues to live in the house. Everything's fine. And all of a sudden that changes. Health changes, finances change, you know, whatever happens, things change. And that's why if you're, you know, you get 500 leads from, you know, 2 years ago, you run them all. If we know that 500 of them still have not changed hands without a question, running those all through the system, it's the right time, the right place. And you're going to get some opportunity out of that for sure. Hey,
Even if you get one closing out, it's huge.
Yeah.
One commonality that surprised me, and it was just a few times, but that I ran into was there was a dispute with the family. Like, you know, somebody said they were entitled to something and they weren't, or they all wanted to be the executor. So their pride took over. They all fought to be the executor. And a year later, one of them won the battle and now was finally ready to do something. You know, families are not, or they had different approaches. You know, 2 of them wanted to rent, 3 of them wanted to sell. You know, you get people scattered around the country in multiple heirs. They're not always on the same page. And sometimes it takes a while for them to get all on the same page and make a decision. And yeah, I remember one of my original heirs said it's not the first person to reach somebody, it's the first person to reach someone after they've made the decision to sell. So, you know, a year ago they couldn't decide on what to decide, and now they finally made the decision and you're the only one contacting them. You know, the business is yours. It's easy business if you do it.
So here's the thing. We've had a bunch of people in the chat who said they're interested in doing that. Those of you who are in the chat and are interested in doing that program, if you are a subscriber, that's fine. We have your information. If you aren't, make sure that you put your information into the chat. And Connor, before you close this down, let's make sure we capture everything in the chat so that we can get this to the team and let them start working with that. But that's awesome for you to be here today, bud. Matt, I appreciate it. And, you know, don't be such a stranger, dude. Come on, come see us every now and again. No,
Jody, what did you want to call that program? Old to Gold? I think that was, I like
Old
that.
to Gold, right.
Old to Gold. Yeah, I like that name.
Hey, Margie, you've been waiting patiently, and
Thank you.
go right ahead.
So this is very new to me. I just started, and I hope this doesn't sound like too much of an idiot question. If it does, I apologize. But so I started calling pre-probate leads, and the letters went out, and one gentleman called me back. He was in another state, and he was very excited. Received the letter. He was listed as, I think it's the first relative. So he told me that he was divorced from the decedent for 25 years. And I had also called some of the other folks, and no one called me back except for him. So apparently the letter goes to the first person. So I guess my question is, so I reached out to an attorney that I thought would help me to find out if there was a will, because in my understanding is they're public record. That's my first question. I don't know if it varies from county to county, but in doing research in my county, it said that I had to go down to the courthouse, which I don't have the bandwidth to do. They would not be able to be obtained if there was a will through the online portal. So I know I know it's a lot of information. So I guess my first question is, from everyone's experience, how many of these folks on average tend to have wills? And the second question is there a service that you all can provide, just like you do for the leads that could help us understand if there is a will, or was AI mistaken and it's not public knowledge?
It
I know
is,
that's a,
it is
that's
very,
what,
yeah, it is very dependent on jurisdictional issues. Not the same in every market, not the same in every state, county, all that sort of stuff. Typically, you're going to have to have a reason to go do a will search. That's part of the job of a personal representative.
Mhm.
When probate gets filed, then someone has the responsibility to make sure that they seek out a will if there is one and all of that. And I mean, typically what happens in regard to a will, it's a signed document. It is filed, but the contents of the will are not known to the public. So it's not something that typically you're going to pull that information out. Probate's different because probate is settling the affairs of the estate. But I mean, if you think about all of the movies that you've seen where they have the dramatic reading of the will, right? And everybody's sitting around the table and everybody goes, "Oh no, I inherited it, Aunt Rachel's house." Well, that's all kind of theatric, but it's true. There's you don't have knowledge of what's in that will until, in fact, the reading of the will occurs. And there's a reason for that because people don't have the ability to go dig in to do that because most of the time the people who are writing those wills aren't necessarily looking to publicize what they've done with their estate when they pass away. It's a reveal. So I mean, I'm kind of going around about saying it. I don't think you're going to find so much of that, but let's take your
looking for the name, sorry, just the name of the executor, would that be public information, or that too would vary?
Sure, it would be, yeah, absolutely. That would be
That's all.
if in fact probate had been filed. So that was where I was going with this. I was going to say your angle there should simply be to go at the court side or easier, like you said, you don't have the bandwidth. You're working pre-probate. I would. We've always said this and say the same thing to everybody. If I was working probate, I'd be working both ends of this. I'd be doing pre-probate and probate, and that way you have the ability to when that pre-probate lead gets to the point that an executor has been appointed or a personal representative, will have that lead for you when that happens, but you can potentially find opportunities before that with pre-probate. So it's kind of both of those are at play. Jim, you were going to say something, bud.
Yeah, Margie, I was going to say if the upside with the pre-probate is you get there first. The downside is you don't know for sure who the executor or the decision maker is. And it kind of reminds me when I worked the leads, I would get somebody with a similar name and they would be all excited. What did I inherit? What did I inherit? And I would say, no, if you were the executor, you would know. I suspect, unfortunately, that if this person was divorced for 14 years, we probably picked it up because there is an association with the person, but it's probably fairly unlikely that he is mentioned in the will. I don't know that for sure. But chances are, if he's that far removed, what I would probably do is call several of the other, call the second, third, fourth, and fifth, and one of them may be able to tell you, yes, I'm the executor, and here's who's mentioned in the will. And he just thinks now that after you contacted him that his wife of 14 years ago is remembered him in the will. That's probably, unfortunately, pretty unlikely. So, but
Well,
I probably
you
would
might have
just go down
remembered
the
it,
list and
not maybe
call
the
all
way
of
you
them.
think.
And just,
But
can I ask just one other question? So
sure.
you're saying, again, the probate has a lot more information that would absolutely most of the time tell you who the executor is.
But
It has
Always?
more specific information.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
yep,
it's not
okay,
necessarily
thank
exactly.
you.
It's not necessarily more, but like Jim said, it's specific because we in pre-probate, what we're starting with is the notice of death. So it could be an obituary, it could be a printed notice in the paper. Well, there are a number of sources that we gather that information from, and then we take that data and basically skip trace everything that's in there to get good addresses and property information and all that. So we're getting great information for you, but the probate data starts with the actual document filing in the court. So there has been a personal representative has been appointed at that point, and they know everything about that situation. So they would be able to easily answer your question in regard to the will and all of that. Did they die intestate or not? And all that sort of stuff. So that's the difference between the two of them.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Hey, Kristen, what's up?
Hey, okay. So I was going to ask how you got the pre-probate leads, and now that I know, because you just answered that, apparently you're pulling it from obituaries and things like that. Is that correct?
Anywhere there are notices of death, yeah, and it's not just obituaries. I mean, a lot of them are, we validate against the uh, something that's actually called the death list that's
Oh,
available that kind of has that data in it, and there are a lot of different sources that we pull. When we started this, we did not offer pre-probate until we felt we could offer a relatively rich set of data to do that. So we get it from a lot of different places, but yeah, it's good info.
that's great. Can I follow up with some other questions? Do you
Yeah,
mind?
please go ahead.
Okay, so I do get the probate leads. I've been getting them since July. And I didn't start doing the calling until recently because I was hoping the letters would generate calls, and that did not happen. I did get a call from a letter a couple of days ago, and I was so excited I forgot to ask all the questions that I needed to. So that was very interesting. But at any rate, most of the people that I have called, they've already found realtors. They've already had the house cleaned out. So I feel like I'm behind the ball when I'm calling, and that's kind of frustrating. And
How
I
many,
don't,
how many leads are you getting in a month?
40 something,
Okay. And how many of those people are you actually being able to contact when you call them?
about 10.
So I'll say this, and please accept it in the spirit in which I mentioned it. You
Okay.
have a small sampling of your data.
Yes.
You're contacting less than 25% of the people. So assuming that you're late in the game, probably not necessarily the case. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I'll also say this, while you said you got the letters out and you hadn't gotten responses back, you got one a couple of days ago and all that. That's great.
It is.
Are you only sending one letter out?
3.
Okay, good. You'll continue to get them over time. That's kind of the important part of that. It's the familiarity, right place, right time stuff. Getting an instant response does happen. And as you grow in this pillar of your business, you're going to find that every once in a while that's going to happen. And right after
Okay.
your insurance go out, somebody's going to call you. It'll happen, but it may not happen, for 3-4 months. But those are
Okay.
it's Chinese water torture. You're going
It
to
is. It is. It is. Because a lot of them had attorneys. A lot of them have the do not call, but I've gotten over that and I call now. Because I'm not selling anything. I'm offering services. So I call even if they're on the DNC. But a lot of them don't answer. I get nothing. It's the wrong number. So I just go down the list. So even though I'm getting 40 some a month, by the time I go through the list and call it down, I've got about 10. And so I work those 10, but again, I'm getting not much of a response. And it's not a reflection of the program not working. I just need more time, I think, with the program is what it amounts to.
Well, you're correct, and I mean the other side of this is are you making your phone calls pretty much at the same time every day?
No, do I need to? Is that a thing?
No, that's specifically why I asked the question. When are you making the calls? Just when you have time?
Yeah, I make them generally about 9 or 10 or 2 or 3, sometimes 5 or 6 in the
So-
afternoon. Yeah, but it kind of varies.
Yeah, the only thing I would say about that, and then I'm going to also talk about Matt again for a second, but the one thing I would say about that is if you're not getting responses during the day, think about this. You're calling people that are personal representatives. In most cases, they've got a job. They're working during the day. You're not going to get them during the day. So I would look at calling in the evenings and on the weekends in particular, if you're not getting the responses that you're looking for. Take the time and do it in the evenings and take that because you're much more likely to get them.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you.
Jim?
Aline had her hand up. Aline, go ahead. You go first.
Yeah, I had to like raise my hand like I'm in school because I don't know, it's not working for
Oh,
me.
sorry, I didn't see
That's
you.
okay. We won't work on that technical difficulty. There it goes. Um, yes, so I just want to speak to Kristen what you were asking about, and sometimes it's challenging to call at different times of the day and to stagger it. For sure, I know I face that challenge sometimes as well. It's ideal to be able to switch up your times and be able to call sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, or and on weekends. But I think the thing that trumps it all is consistency. So the mailing, the calls, and the follow-up trumps everything. Because if you're consistent time over time, you'll reach people and you have a nice small batch that you could just keep calling, even when you get your new leads, go back to it. I actually wanted to take an opportunity, and your question was perfect for it because for myself, like I do my best that I can to squeeze as much out of my leads that I do. And I have over 100 leads that I get from one source. And I also add Property Plus to it. So that tells me what properties they have. And even on the ones that say zero property, if it's a different address, right? So if the personal representative has one address and the deceased is a different address, I check on that address and I call. And you'll be surprised. Sometimes there is something, or there may have not been something at the beginning or 3 months ago, but now there is. And especially when we have multiple heirs that can't make a decision. And they'll say, oh, we're doing nothing because the PR is so overwhelmed and so inundated with everything. They don't even want to make a decision because they have to deal with all the heirs. So they'll say to you when you get them on the phone, oftentimes, we don't know what we're doing. We're not doing anything. We're holding on to the property.
Mhm.
But it's just, that's just what's happening in the moment.
Yeah.
So if you can create a relationship and build it up, but again, just to go back to what I said originally, is just consistency. And it does take time on task.
It yeah.
100% don't give up. July seems like a long time ago, but in the life of real estate, it's really not. So
Right.
you just
Yeah.
giving it more
Yeah.
time and just being consistent with your tasks that you're doing and following
Yeah.
is huge.
Yeah. So I've been getting better at doing my follow-up, either a text message or an email, or I try a call again. Sometimes the ones that I make contact with, they're out of state, which is great. And they tell me they're going to be in town. And I'm like, look me up when you get in town. And then I'll reach out that morning. They're supposed to be in town and say, I'm here if you need me, that kind of stuff. But then they don't call me back. Okay, they've got something else going on. That's fine. There's a lot. But the ones with I have the Property Plus, which is a bonus. Let me tell you, that is a wonderful thing to have the property. But I go through and make sure that the properties aren't currently for sale. So I take those off. If the houses are already for sale, and I've missed the bandwagon on that. And then I check to see, like you said, if there's no properties, but there's two different addresses. I look that address up to see if it's a nursing home, or a long-term care facility, that kind of thing. So, and then that narrows the list down too. But it's just progress, and it's a little bit at a time. And sometimes I just get rather impatient with the process. To be honest with you, I just get impatient because I'm so excited.
Of course.
You're
So
doing the right stuff, though.
when somebody tells you that they're going to be coming into town, especially an out-of-state personal representative, I would encourage you to set it up before they get into town. You're going to be in town. Some of them only come in for 2 days. Some of them will come in for a week. Some of them stay for a month. It varies. But you do your best. Like I know you're probably have so much that you have going on. Could we schedule a few minutes to meet when you come in and just give them option this day or this day? And just try to lock something in. I mean, they still may change it, but at least you have something written on the calendar instead of just leaving it up to chance for when they're there.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, this
that
particular one
that
rushed me off the phone. She rushed me off the phone.
mhm.
And that was that. And then
That's okay. That's
I
okay.
never heard
Until
from
they
them
tell
again, even though
you.
I've tried. So it's okay.
That's okay. Until they tell you to stop calling and never call them again, you can keep calling.
Right.
Again, when you're sending letters, your letter gets piled in with a lot of other letters, and letters and postcards and all that is great, but there's making that connection. Like,
Yeah.
oh, hi,
Yeah.
I sent you a letter, not sure if you saw it, but I'm following up, like that. So you're distinguishing yourselves from the pile of mail that's in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
Kristen, what I was gonna add, it sounds like you're doing this to some extent, is if our coach Bruce were here, he would tell you whatever excuse they give you when you first talk to him, don't believe it. Because they'll often tell you I've got it handled, or I've got it listed, or I've already
Oh,
chosen.
yeah. Yeah. I have an attorney and they're handling everything. Yeah, you
Just-
have no idea.
They'll just say that to get
You
rid
have
of you.
no idea.
Don't-
Yes,
Yeah,
they
don't
do.
call
Yeah.
them a liar, but say, oh, great. So who did you list with, or what agent you gonna list with? I may have a buyer. Let me reach out to them. And it sounds like you're kind of doing that to make sure already that it's not listed. But find a reason to call them back. Hey, I know you said you didn't need me, but hey, I just wanted to tell you we've got a service called Probate Cash where while you're waiting for it to sell, we can get you some cash out of the property. Call them back with a reason why you can help them, regardless of what they tell you initially.
Okay.
Oh, I would say also, Kristen, is you're doing all the right stuff. You're doing good things. That's the way you should be doing. The only thing I would encourage you to do is potentially is to reach out. Matt, I think I'd like, if you could reach out to Kristen. I think maybe you might want to talk with Matt about seeing if there's anything they could do to help you as well in terms of time, because that's part of your issue is I think you're obviously very busy. And so I think it's important that you make good use of your time, and that's one of the things that Matt's group are. They're a force multiplier. They allow to do the work for you, and that's kind of important. Probably worth a try for you to take a look at doing that. So
Okay.
if you guys will get together, we'll get your information to Matt if that's okay.
That's perfectly fine.
Okay,
Great.
awesome.
Look forward to
Kristen,
it,
are
man.
you a teacher?
I'm sorry?
Are you a teacher?
No, I am not. Oh, you're talking about my wall?
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, this is when people come to visit me, I make them do a finger painting for my kitchen. So
Oh,
I've got
that's
my
awesome.
one family, another family, cousins, in-laws,
I love it.
grandkids, you name it. That's my wall.
That's
very
awesome.
cool.
It
That's awesome.
brightens up my kitchen, gives me a little personal art.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Thanks for asking.
Hey, Connor, I just want to make sure if you'll unmute yourself there. You did understand what I said about making sure we gather all the info in the chat this time?
Yeah, I have a list together. I'll send to you after the call.
Okay, great. That'll be great. I appreciate that. Actually, send it to Jody and I, and we'll also get Matt what he needs to get out of that as well, and add Kristen's information to it as well. A very interesting day. I can't believe we're already up to near the top of the hour. Great calls today. Great info. Great participation. Appreciate it. A lot of interest in the refresh program or the old to gold or gold to old. I think that'll be maybe a good send off. Now we got people interested in it, Jimbo.
Great.
Good thing. Guys, we got 3 minutes left. If there's anybody who wants to avail yourself of a 3-minute time slot there, and you got a good question that you'd like to ask or anything else you'd like to say, happy to do that. If we don't have that, we're getting into a pretty good work habit here on these calls that kind of get us off. Bill, what's up, bud?
Two quick questions.
There you go.
One, I think I'm doing something wrong with your CRM. I use a separate one for leads that I generate. How do I go back and edit comments that I made?
Edit your comments.
Right.
Well,
So if I say contact the county regarding something, and then I did do it, I just want to go back and pull out the old suggestion and put in the new information.
So typically what you're looking for in the comments, it's kind of chronologically dated.
Right.
And were you going to comment on that, Kristen?
No, sorry,
Okay.
I have a whole nother question.
All right. Well, that's fine.
I think you
Hey,
answered.
Bill, If you would, Toby, can you take it on to reach out to Bill and help him get squared away with that? Bill, we're going to have Toby reach out to you and help you get that squared away.
Okay. The other comment I got made, couldn't get it in last week. There was questions about the IRS, about documentation that somebody had raised.
About what? I don't remember.
I think it'd have to do with expenses as far as keeping track of it for the IRS.
Keeping track of what your expenses?
Yeah, someone I thought had raised that question.
Unfortunately, I don't recall
Okay.
the question.
Bill, I
No big
know
deal.
we talked about reducing IRS liens on your short sale, but I don't remember anything as far as your personal expenses,
Okay.
because that's kind of a thing for your accountant, I think. But
Yeah.
But from an IRS standpoint, if the auditor's looking at a cost basis to establish what that cost date was, even if it comes back a year later, if you have copies of the CRM that you did or the RMA that the agent generated, it's very helpful to have photos.
you're talking about on a probate, on an inherited property?
Correct.
Yeah, you pay tax on the difference between what it was worth when you inherited it and when you sell it.
Right.
So yeah, so that's a good
Because
point.
when they do the return, they have to establish a cost basis.
Right.
And that's the one thing, if you can produce a ranch photo for a ranch, a Cape Cod for Cape Cod, that goes over a long ways.
And
Right.
Bill and I my family inherited the property from my mom and my sister, and we actually just had an appraiser go back and do an appraisal as of a year ago and as of today. We pay them a little bit of a premium, but you can do that. They can go
Yeah.
back and look at the comps and tell you what it was worth then and
And
now.
generally, they'll accept it. The big thing is the more information you have, the more detail it is, the easier it is for you to win that battle with them.
Okay.
Great. Thanks for bringing that up, buddy.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Kristen, you get the last word.
Okay, do you guys do Google ads, Facebook marketplace ads? Anybody doing ads on those platforms and having any success with it?
What's this Google thing you're talking about? Is that something new? Google?
I
Part of
wish it
Google.
was, but it is not. I'm just not tech savvy. But
Dear,
you know,
that is unfortunately, I'm going to tell you, that is a bigger topic that we'll probably have to deal with next time.
okay,
We'll come back next time and ask it. We'll be glad to talk about it, though.
you're on.
And we do it though. I can tell you that for sure, for our own company and for others.
Let me send them away, buddy. We're good to go. Thanks, everybody.
All right, another great call. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. I want to particularly thank Connor, Cheryl, Margie, Matt, Tim, Kristen, Bill, Aline, and Bill, two Bills, for actively participating. And I'm going to thank Steve just for being here because, Steve Carter. I want to challenge.
He did his job in the chat session. He worked over there.
Yeah, it's an inside joke. And I want to challenge each of you, take one idea that inspired you on this call, go out and put it into practice, and please come back next Thursday and share the results with the group. Have a great week, everybody. Same time next Thursday. Take care.
Okay.